Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody from wherever you're listening in or watching this recording. I'm really excited. This is the first Zoom call for LymphoMation. So we are going to be running this as a monthly call, and it's going to be on the last Monday of every month. And it's going to be called the LymphoMation Zoom call. And we'll be covering many different subjects. So some of the subjects we will cover over the next months are bandaging, how important that is, how important it is to have manual lymphatic drainage as a treatment, why the immune system is important and how we can boost that, dry skin brushing as a technique, why it's so important to have a healthy weight. I feel that skin and nail care and toes are really important, so we'll cover that in more detail, and of course lymphedema exercises. So today I have two fabulous guests with me. There's Trisha Hunt from the Central Coast in New South Wales, Australia, and we've got Rocio from the USA. So both Trishi and Rocio are patients who have got lymphedema, managing lymphedema, and managing it really well. So this is why we just want this to be a sharing experience. So Rocio, I'm going to hand over to you first to share a little bit about your passion, but why Rocio is going to share some things with us. She not only is a yoga teacher, but she is a nutritionist. So she has a wealth of knowledge on what's really important for lymphedema patients. Thanks, Rocio.
Hello. Thank you. So hello, everyone. Before I begin to share my presentation quickly, I would just say that this situation, lymphedema happening to me, became the reason for me to not only fall into yoga and bringing yoga to my life, but also to switch careers and ended up studying holistic nutrition as well, because I learned so much from my own research as well on how to maintain lymphedema. So some of the things that I had to do was make some lifestyle changes. And within those lifestyle changes, we're talking a lot about nutrition. And so nutrition is so important when not only when we have lymphedema, but it's such a key part to our overall health. And it really needs to be a priority. And there is a lot that we are not told that you can control through your diet and nutrition. So for me, it's my mission to help as many people as I can and to share what has worked for me. And with the discipline and commitment, it can work for you as well. So you probably have heard that you are what you eat, right? But you're not only what you eat, you are also what you assimilate, what you absorb, what you don't eliminate as well. And we can talk about that in another class. But today we want to talk about what you eat. And so there are certain foods that we need more of. And these are good proteins, good fats, and green veggies. So when we think about protein, well, let's first think about our cells. Our cells are made from protein, fat, and water. So what's going to make our muscles? Protein, not bagels, not chips, not even bananas or broccoli. So we need to have protein. And so you need to choose widely meats like organic chicken and turkey, organic tofu. You can add that. If you happen to be a vegetarian, eat lots of tofu, eat soy milk, eat nuts in moderation, but try to get that protein in there. Salmon, tuna, amazing for your diet. Good protein plus good fat. I drink soy milk, so if you can add soy milk, tofu, edamames, those boiled soybeans, those are awesome. We need between 80 to 120 grams of protein per day in order to prevent the body from breaking down the muscle mass. Because what happens when the body breaks down the muscle mass, then it can lead to more swelling and then weakness. And then we stop moving and we stop exercising, and we need to have that fuel. Second, good fats. Good fats are natural fats like your omega-3s, your omega-6. Omega-3s is an essential fatty acid, and that means that we don't produce it. So you need to either do targeted supplementation, or you need to eat a lot of fish, which is almost impossible. It's like you almost have to have salmon every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to get what an omega-3 supplement is going to give to you. And it's such an important fat because 30% of the fat in our brain is omega-3. So it's so important for all of our functions in our bodies. So foods that are high in omega-3, you have your salmon, you have your mackerel, sardines, which I love, cod, herring, anchovies. All of those are high in omega-3s. So you got to make sure that you have that good balance of omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6 you'll get from olive oil, which we'll talk a little more on that. So one key thing that I want to point out when it comes to oils and lymphedema is that you need to choose the right kind of oils. So if you choose oils that are long chain fatty acids, which are mostly your partially hydrogenated oils that are in processed foods like crackers and chips and all those other goodies that come in a bag that you just pop open and you start to eat. Those long chain fatty acids create more lymphatic fluid in your body. And so they are inflammatory. And when you think about it, if we're not moving our lymphatic fluid like a normal person would, why would you consume something that is going to create more lymphatic fluid? So stay away from those. Stay away from those oils, and stay more with your olive oil and your so your coconut oil is a short fatty acid chain. So that is going to be processed in your body very easily. So your coconut oil is going to be more favorable for you. However, olive oil has a lot of other good aspects to it, and you can use it in moderation. Now, when we talk about lard and butter, obviously, when we think about butter, we're only thinking about the butter that you're spreading on your bread. And no, you have to think about everything else that you probably are buying at the supermarket, at the store. And if you read the ingredients, it has lard or it has butter. So all of that not only is going to increase inflammation, but it's also going to increase your LDL, which is your low density cholesterol. Dark green leafy vegetables, those you can have a lot of those. I mean, your plate should be huge with those. Broccoli and spinach and kale and Swiss chard and asparagus, Brussels sprouts, all the leafy greens, especially arugula, are all anti-inflammatory. They also have lots of fiber, lots of minerals, lots of antioxidants. In the summertime, when the farmer markets are more popular, I love buying arugula from a farmer because it's so peppery and it's so strong. And literally I have that in my dinner, and the next morning, my leg with lymphedema is way better just from that arugula. Green veggies are low glycemic, so that is going to be better for your blood sugar levels, right? And also try to get them in a whole form, fresh form. However, it's better if you cook them so that you can release all of the nutrients. Obviously, do not overcook them because then you will be killing all the nutrients too. When we talk about fruits and herbs and spices, turmeric and ginger and cloves, they all have proven that they have anti-inflammatory properties, and turmeric helps regulate the immune system. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory for your gut. I don't know if you ever had indigestion, you know, you have a ginger tea, it always helps you. Cloves are amazing because they have manganese and magnesium, which regulates muscle spasms. And we need that, right? Especially for our heart, it's a muscle. And then when we talk about oils, as we mentioned, nuts are awesome, especially if you don't have all the ways that you can get your protein from. Nuts are good, but you know, keep it in moderation, and almonds are probably the best for us. They are having fiber and calcium and vitamin E. Walnuts are very rich in omega-3, so those are really, really good. And they also are high antioxidants. When it comes to grains, because in the United States, I'm not sure how it is in the rest of the world, but in the United States, when you buy grains, they are very toxic. They're full of pesticides, they are full of herbicides and fungicides. And these are things that are going to be stored in our bodies. And it's going to be very hard for us to process that and detoxify it. So buy organic, certified organic, if you're going to eat grains like brown rice or brown rice pasta. Now, beets and beetroot juice have shown that they do reduce inflammation. So if you have a juicer and you like to make juice in the morning, make some beet juice or add some beets to your salad. They are full of fiber and vitamin C. And as we discussed, when it comes to oils and fats, you want to eat some of the good fats, but the rest of them that are not good for you, keep them to a minimum. Stay away from cow's milk. You know, it just triggers a lot of inflammation. But things like yogurt have a lot of good things for your gut, and they're going to be good for you. Plus, they have probiotics that we need. Peppers, tomatoes, garlic, onions, amazing for when you cook. And not only for inflammation, but also they're going to be high in antioxidants and low in starch. When it comes to fruits, all fruits are good for you. They really are good for inflammation. They are low in fat, they are low in calories. But tart cherries have a high anti-inflammatory properties, not sweet cherries, tart cherries. So 1.5 cups of fresh sweet tart cherries or juice will be really, really good for you. Last but not least, I want to talk about foods that you should stay away from. And those are your French fries, flour, anything with flour. That means your muffin, your croissant, your cake, your crackers. Flour is poison, it's horrible for you. It tears you up inside, causes inflammation. Just don't eat it. And nowadays, there's a lot of other things that if weight is not an issue, you can get a lot of really good products that are gluten-free, that are wheat-free. Those are going to be better for you. But obviously, you want to do that in moderation as well. Sugar, terrible. I mean, I can tell you sugar is bad. I'm going to tell you sugar is horrible for you. Horrible, cut it out. Might be hard in the beginning, but sugar is inflammatory. And you're always going to go in that cycle of, you know, having flare-ups with lymphedema and then going back and flare-ups and then going back. You have to make lifestyle changes, and nutrition is probably one of the biggest ones. Avoid your high-fat dairy. Avoid red meats. Avoid soda. Avoid lard. Basically, avoid all white foods like bread, cereals, pasta, rice. All of them inflammatory. Avoid diet sweeteners. avoid aspartame. This is literally poison. Diet sodas, diet sweeteners. It turns into methanol in your body. And we can, I mean, and when I say we can't detoxify methanol, I mean humans, we cannot detoxify methanol. Animals can, but we can't. So what does it do? It turns into formaldehyde, causes brain damage, Alzheimer, all other kinds of issues. So diet, stay away from that stuff, diet sweeteners. And fructose that does not come from fruit is poison. So your high fructose corn syrup is horrible for you. Bad is an understatement. It's horrible for you. And so take the time, read the nutritional label. That is a way to show yourself some love. That is a way to make the changes that are going to benefit you. I started on this journey in 2007. I have not been in a hospital since 2013. I only had cellulitis twice through that whole period. And since 2013 to now, I'm probably the healthiest I have ever been. But I started with my diet. So thank you.
Well, Rocio, what can I say? That was absolutely awesome. Now, on Margie's lymphedema support group, can we share that information so people can access it after the event? Because you said such a lot to say, they might want to go back to it. So we can maybe put that information on that. That would be absolutely fabulous.
I will send it to you. Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Trishis Hunt. So Trishis is an entrepreneur. She's a grandmother. She's a mother. And she's my business partner. So I'm lucky to have known Trishis for many years. And I'm just going to hand over and Trishis can share her story with you.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you, Rocio. That was absolutely amazing. I really appreciated reading that and giving myself another wake-up call, slap in the face, so to speak. So thank you for that. And thank you, Margie, for having me on this morning. It's a great pleasure to be here and to share my story. So where would you like me to start, Margie? It's a very long story, darling.
What I'd like you to share, Trishis, is I know that you've had a brush with cancer, and I'd like you to share with the guests how you took charge of your health naturally through that period and after.
Okay. Well, first, let me say that I was into nutrition long before the cancer journey, but because of stress, I had a lot of inflammation in my body, and stress comes out in various areas. And for me, it was breast cancer. So in going into the journey, I went into the journey at age 70, but at a cellular level, I was only 59, which meant that I was more able to cope with the massive amounts of chemo and radiotherapy. And so the journey for me was not as debilitating because I was much younger at a cellular level. So I kind of breezed through it. I continued to exercise. I sprayed my bald head pink and I went to the gym and I literally worked my body and my cells and kept my oxygen level increased. At the very beginning of the journey, I explained to the doctor that I was going to keep pursuing my natural products and that I was happy to go along with him. And he was quite in agreement with that. So, basically from the very word go, I was introduced to a wonderful person who talked about losing the feeling in your toes and feet because of the chemo. And I went to a professor, and they advised me on a nutritional supplement that would stop that. And I've not lost the feeling in my fingers and toes, which is really good because it causes unbalance in the body and you trip over all the time. You also have serious feet injuries because you can't feel when you get blisters, and healing is not as speedy as it should be. But I think the journey for me also was recognizing that for the rest of my life, I needed to arm myself with professionals who would be there as little hiccups arose. And one of those was Margie here. And I was very blessed to have her in my life, that she's bossy as, but she came up and told me exactly what I needed to do. And unlike me, I literally followed exactly what she said. So she helped me measure me for the sleeves. She told me the importance of basically wearing the sleeve, particularly through radiotherapy. And I pretty much have not been bothered by lymphedema. I've only had one real bout of that, and I honestly didn't know what it was. And it was brought about by the fact that a professional had pressed too hard on my arm doing an ultrasound. And because I have no lymph nodes in my right arm, I got cellulitis, but I didn't know I had cellulitis until I had a rash after about 10 days and a bit of a headache. So I showed Margie the rash and she bounced all over the place and made me go to hospital immediately, which I did, not wanting to. And so cellulitis.
I must tell you, she went cursing me, and I just had to be really firm because she did not want to go. It was like 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. I said, I'm sorry, you cannot wait till the morning. So when I'm bossy, it's for a serious reason. Sorry, love. I just had to just point that out.
Yes, you did. And so I get to hospital thinking, what's this woman on about? It's just a rash. Well, actually, it was very serious. And the doctor told me that my inflammation markers were very low, but he said within 24 hours, this can kill you. And you have a serious dose of cellulitis. And so I had to have intravenous antibiotics. I couldn't stay in the hospital because of the COVID situation. I had to come home and I had to have a nurse every day for 5 days with very strong antibiotics, intravenous antibiotics. And you know what? It's really interesting because cellulitis doesn't just pack up and go when the antibiotics finish. It actually took quite some time to actually to work on my arm and to work on the rash, to actually get the rash to go. And I used a particular cream. I exercised, and Margie said, you need to swim. You need to swim. As soon as the rash is gone, you need to swim. So I try to hit the pool 3 days a week and run up and down in the water and things. And literally it helps. So I think it's really vital when we've gone through this journey to arm ourselves with the people that are going to help us manage our future with this new issue that we've got. And, basically I'm very blessed to have that. And I'm grateful to be on this call because I know that you're all going to have access to this gorgeous, amazing lady who literally has saved my arm. I have no lymphedema in my arm, none at all. I've shown lymphedema specialists and they go, wow. I'm very careful about my diet. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. And if I do have a couple of glasses, I consume a lot of water. I don't go out in the sun without actually taking care of my arm. I make sure that, I've got a good cream that I use for it. And literally it's now a thing that it's like my car. It needs a new tire and my arm needs to be taken care of the same way as the tires do. Got to keep the air in, got to keep them balanced, got to keep the arm working, girls. And boys, I think there's a man on here as well.
Oh, Trishie, that was lovely, darling. I loved what you shared. And I must say, when I said to Trishie, you've got to get in the water, it was winter. I said, I don't care. You've got to get in the pool. Because for me, I've been a lymphedema specialist therapist for more than 20 years. And I find the best results of some of my patients who've actually gone into remission, which they say in our training, it doesn't happen. I can tell you it does happen. 5 years of compliance with lymphedema treatments, compression garments, and swimming, your arm or leg will go into remission. Yeah. So the kind of things that will upset that is what Trishie said. If you go in the sun, it might flare up. If you go and walk in the bush and you get bitten by a leech, it'll flare up. You get bitten by a spider. If you go outside at dusk or dawn and you get bitten by a mosquito, it'll flare up. Doesn't mean to say it's gone forever, because lymphedema never goes, but it certainly can be completely well managed, which Trishis is in that position, and Rocio by a long way. Maybe next month when we do it, Rocio can show you a before and after, her legs before and after, a fabulous testimonial on what was and now what is through compliance and things like that. So the little sector that I want to share with you, I'm going to just share my screen. It won't take a few moments. On my website, I've got a few categories that I talk about. Now, today I'd like to just whiz through the top 10 tips to manage your lymphedema well. We're not going to go into any detail, but they're things you can think about, and we will go into more detail. And I want you all to understand that what we're sharing on this call is not to, it's purely for educational purposes. We do not claim to heal, cure, mitigate any disease or any condition or anything like that. But we are here just for educational purposes to help you manage your conditions better. So the one thing that Rocio and Trishis and myself, we really feel really strongly about is the fact that we can activate, number one, our pathways 1 and 2, which is all about internal cellular health, which is very big for Trishis and also for Rocio. What that does, it reduces oxidative stress, which is inflammation in the tissues, by 40% in 30 days. And it increases your production of glutathione by over 300% over 90 days. So overall, it reduces inflammation. That's what we want. These are all the things we need to take into consideration. If you have an active lymphedema, it's really important to use elevation. It's a simple tool. It's not expensive, using a high density foam block. Exercise, vital. If you can't get to the pool that day, take yourself for a 20-minute walk. Why do I say 20 minutes? Because the research has shown, and this is from Adelaide, Flinders University, Dr. Neil Pillar, Professor Neil Pillar, when you exercise on the spot, not walk a little bit here and then rest and walk and rest, 20 minutes on the go, whether it's walking, whether it's on the trampoline, or whether it's swimming. Those are my top 3 exercises for lymphedema. When you exercise for 20 minutes, it then has activated your lymphatic system. Once it's activated, if you've had enough or you're tight on time, get out of the pool, stop your jumping, whatever you're doing. You have 20 minutes to go and have a shower and put on your arm sleeve, because for the 20 minutes after you stop the exercise, the fluid is still being taken out of the limb. And that's during that 20-minute after you finish, that's when you need to put on your arm sleeve or leg garment or wherever the lymphedema is. It could be anywhere. And what that does, it stops the fluid coming back. So you are reducing the size of your limb. So that 20-minute window is quite important. Regular manual lymphatic drainage. Really important to find a therapist close to you, so it's not a big travel and not a big issue to get there, who can do manual lymphatic drainage. I'm trained in the Dr. Voda School of Austria. I know in the US there are heaps and heaps of therapists in the Voda School. In the UK, there are also lots. And in Europe, there are a lot.
Maggie,
yes.
Can I just say something there? So there's people who use a machine for lymphatic drainage, and I found that I just had that once, and it really caused some issues for me.
Thank you, Trishis. I will definitely, that is one of the things we will be addressing later on. The Dr. Voda School does not authorize and does not recommend the machines. I know a lot of people are using machines, but it's the handwork. We are trained to feel, and we know where to move the lymph, whereas those machines, they do the same thing on the same people. And it's not always, and unfortunately, especially when you're working on the legs, it can push the fluid and you end up with genital lymphedema. And that's a really bad condition. I have one patient that has that. And she was using machines and she ended up, and once you have lymphedema, it's always going to be there. Yeah. It's a very difficult part of the body to bandage. You know, if you're a male, yes, we can bandage your parts. But with a female, it's really difficult. It means using really firm garments, much firmer than a bicycle, you know, cycling pants. So getting back to the top 10, daily skincare of non-toxic products, absolutely vital. Because we don't want to put more toxic waste into the tissues, because that again flares up the inflammation, and then it allows the body, the lymph, the affected part, not to be able to release that toxicity. Dry skin brushing is one of the absolute vitals, because dry skin brushing increases lymphatic flow and it keeps your skin in good condition when you moisturize afterwards. Self-massage is another area. We'll do that on one of our calls coming up, so you can just check your techniques for self-massage. Well, Rocio covered number 8 in such detail. Thank you, Rocio. That was absolutely amazing. Low fat, low inflammatory diet choices. Make informed choices. If anyone wants to check, we'll have that information on there. And you'll put it on your group, Rocio, as well, won't you? Yeah. Exercise, we've already touched a little bit on that. Swimming, Qigong, Tai Chi. And Rocio might also, when we do our segment on exercise, might suggest some specific yoga postures and movements that are good. I will be certainly covering Qigong and Tai Chi. I'm an instructor in that area. And number 10, wear your compression garments every day. Very important. And I would like to open this call to any questions. So if there's anyone on the call who has a question.
I have a question.
Yes, I'm listening.
I'm very new at this, and I recently did the VODR training, and I just started working with these patients. And my patient that I've been working with, she told me that she has active cancer. Is the MLD permitted, or the her compression pumps permitted with someone with active cancer?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so 0 MLD. Well, I mean, how do you help manage their lymphedema if they have active cancer?
So what I would suggest that we can take this offline and have a conversation about that. So how I manage lymphedema patients with, when you say with active cancer, so they've had surgery, they've had radiation, they've had chemo. Is that right?
Yes. Well, her marker, yes. I mean, yes, she's had the surgery. She has, she brought in today her paperwork, and she said her markers went down significantly to like 20, which I don't really know a lot about. They don't train us a lot about the numbers of cancer and everything like that. I just wasn't sure, because it's kind of intimidating when you have active cancer to be pushing things around in your axilla area.
We do know that with active cancer, we do not do lymphatic drainage, because through the lymphatic system, you can move it elsewhere in the body. But once chemo's finished, once the radiation is finished, and they've had their surgery, that's the soonest that we're allowed to start lymphatic drainage, manual lymphatic drainage.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she is, that is completed. So what about the pumps? That's what she's asking me about. And I don't know anything about the pumps, because as you know, in the VODR training, that is not, we talk about the massage, not the pumps.
So I never use pumps. I don't recommend it. And if a patient is using pumps, I recommend they find another therapist. I'm not prepared to treat a patient while they're using pumps, because if something goes wrong, they're going to look at me. And the VODR school does not condone the use of pumps. So that's
so you would go on the other side and train them on MLD, self-MLD.
Well, it's not self-MLD. We'll train them on self-massage, yes.
That's what I mean.
We'll teach them, yes. But the most important thing are the tools, like skin brushing, all of those things, and swimming and all of those things that they need to do. So
Okay.
I feel that my biggest gift is to educate lymphedema patients how to take charge of their lymphedema naturally. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
But
you.
can I just say something there, Margie?
Of course, my love.
That's the blessing I had, McKenna, is that Margie was there from the beginning. I met Margie immediately after I'd had the
Surgery.
lymph thing, the surgery. And, you know, immediately Margie basically recommended measuring for sleeve, and I wore a sleeve. I exercised because I was already exercising. I made sure I watched my diet as she advised, and I was doing anyway. But I was with Margie from the beginning. And had I not been with Margie from the beginning, I believe I would have had a significant issue with my arm because I have no lymph nodes. The axillary is gone as well. But, you know, I didn't have any problem with lymphedema until I had the ultrasound and they pressed too hard under my arm, which caused it to come on. So I think from my point of view, it's vital to know from the beginning, not sort of halfway down the track. It's now working with the lymphedema and the professor on what I should do next, and really working with the advice these women gave me. It was like having a support bunny beside me. And then as soon as Margie could, she taught me how to do skin brushing. And I did that. And, you know, and I've had one episode of lymphedema, and I truly give all that to Margie's expertise. But because she was there at the beginning, I was forearmed and forewarned, if you like. So I never had the problem.
That's great. Did you, what kind of a situation does Maggie work? Like, is it a private clinic? Is it in a hospital?
I'm in a private clinic. I have one clinic in Chatswood, which is in quite a busy, actually a Chinese area. And I'm on the northern beaches. So I have 2 days a week. So I'm semi-retired, but
nice. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So Trishi, I just wanted to thank you for sharing that, because Trishi doesn't actually acknowledge the fact that if what I have said to her, she hadn't complied with and hadn't done, I find compliance is the most difficult issue that I have with patients. I can tell them that this is what needs to be done, and they don't do it. So I must tell you, I'm not a really good therapist, because if they don't do it, I say you're wasting my time and you're wasting your money. So I'm very, very frank. I don't pussyfoot around, because it's a serious condition. And my job is to help the patient manage their condition as quickly as possible. And it is very, very possible. I mean, you know, as a VODA therapist, we've got all the tools at our fingertips. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. So far, I mean, with my little bit of experience, I've already noticed the compliance issue is huge.
It is.
And
huge.
like, they're willing to come in for the MLD, but then they're not willing to do the compression wrapping because it's uncomfortable. So I know that that's part of it. You can't pick and choose what is going to work.
No.
And we're not making hardly any progress with her, of course.
Yes. I'm so pleased you came on the call. How lovely. We must just keep in touch, because it might be nice for you to share some stories at a later stage. You know, that would be.
Yeah, I would love it. I'm really interested in it, and I love knowing. You know, I love learning more. I'm getting a lot of questions now that I'm just like, oh, we didn't learn that, or I'm not comfortable answering that.
Okay, darling. So thank you all so much for coming on the call. It's made it really worthwhile for all of us, and we'll just do it again next month. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, just put them in the group, either in Rocio's lymphedema support group or mine. We're working together all the time. And if you would like some more information about reducing the oxidative stress, just talk to the person who invited you on this call, so we can then share more information, because it's really important. It's not about those things. It's more important to just hone and give you all the tools that you need to manage your condition to the best. So from me, Margie here, I'm wishing you a fabulous month, and we'll see you in May.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.